because I had a problem that I haven't been able to find anywhere on the internet. Here's what I got. It's a Craftsman LiftMaster, half horsepower. Most of these LiftMasters are the same. So the gears on the inside of the mechanism got chewed up. They were all tore up inside there. You can see all the white still left. So I replaced the all the gears, the whole assembly and everything, ordered it off of Amazon. It was like 20 bucks for the whole assembly. Whenever I put it back together, the machine was only going, it would go out like 1.5 feet, stop, and then come back in. And for the life of me, I could not figure out why it was doing that. A lot of things on the internet said it was the torsion springs that were broke. Everybody said torsion spring, torsion spring, torsion spring. But if you read about it, whenever they disconnected the door from the latch, the machine itself worked fine. That wasn't my problem. My problem was without the chain on it, with no pressure at all, the machine would go out like 1.5 feet, stop, come back in. It was not the door sensors down there on the floor. Don't tell me it was a door sensor. That's not what it was. I replaced all the gears. I did exactly what the instructions said. The electronics in it should not have been messed up. There was no reason it was doing what it was doing. So I read one little thing on the internet. I only found one post that even talked about this. This black thing right here, this round black thing, is an RPM reader, an RPM sensor. RPM sensor. So it's hard to see it, but it goes in between a sensor right here. There's two little black things that round black disc goes in between those two. And what it is, it's a little eye, it's a little sensor. And every time one of these black solid pieces goes in between that sensor, and then it has light, it counts that, and it's an RPM. Now, if you put this thing back together, what you think is right, there's just enough space on this shaft right in here from where that collar is with the Allen screws. There's just enough space that if you don't get it on there really, really tight, that RPM sensor, breaker, whatever you want to call it, counter, doesn't sit far enough on the shaft for that sensor to actually see that it's moving. So it doesn't think that it's turning, and it thinks there's a problem, and it stops, and then it goes back to where it was at. That's what the problem is whenever it comes to that 12-inch in, 12-inch back out. At least it was for me. Like I said, I only read one thing about that at all. Everything else was saying the torsion springs were broke, the floor sensors were jacked up, and I needed to basically just start from scratch and troubleshoot everything. I knew that was not what it was. I really thought that it was going to be these track sensors right here. I thought this middle one, the one that actually picks up the sensor, I thought it was out, but it's not. Whenever I put it back together, it was that round black RPM sensor right there. I had to take the collar off with the Allen screws, push the shaft from the back side of the motor here. I had to push it as hard as I could. Take a screwdriver and push all of this collar and everything towards the motor, and then tighten down those Allen screws again. And I bet it was only probably a 1/16 of an inch that I gained whenever I did it, but it was just enough to get my garage door back to work. So if you can't figure out why it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, now I can tell you the lights were not flashing. It wasn't acting weird. All it was doing, it acted normal. It just went out 12 inches, came back in 12 inches. That's all it did. It did not flash any lights. It didn't send an error code. It didn't do anything that you would think that would give you an idea that there was a problem. It did everything like it was supposed to. It just did it within a 12-inch period, 12-inch length. So if you got a problem like that, that might be what it is.